welcome to episode 32 of the Zeens and Roger Crochet Vlogcast. I am Rosina and this is a video all about what I've been up to crochet wise and anything else that I decide to go on about. I'll start with whips and stuff today though, because I've got a feeling that I am going to waffle quite a lot. And if that's your cup of tea then great, join me. So let's start with whips. Whip number one is my blanket, my granny striped blanket that I've been making for quite a long time, but I didn't show you, so I'm just trying to find the hook, that I didn't show you for a long time because it was literally just some boring cream granny stripes, and so I waited until I got to the border before I started talking about it in last episode. So since then I've done a few more stripes and I'm now on the border, which is, oh, I've just pulled out some, which is going to be bubbles. And I've done bubble edging before and I've got a tutorial on my blog for something, for the pattern. But I've made a few changes, so I'm going to write it up again to include a couple more rounds, and I will video it as well, so it'll become my next video tutorial at some point in the next few weeks. Not immediately because I've got other priorities before then. This is just a bit of fun really. So I'll probably get this finished over a couple of evenings. Bubbles take quite a bit of time, but when I came up with this design initially, maybe 3 years ago, can't remember now, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe more, I came up with it because the ones I'd found online were overly complex and took too long, and I just couldn't be bothered, and I basically decided to invent my own that was a darn sight quicker. So that's what I did. But no video tutorial exists, just an old photo tutorial on the blog, which I'll link to. I do like making bubbles, but yeah, they take a bit of time, so I'll do a few, put it down, do a few, put it down. I've only done one side so far, and I did most of that before I went on holiday, because last week I was in Menorca. Which means I haven't done a great deal of crochet, so that's like only one whip of two. What I will mention is that it's Stylecraft special. Oh no, it's not all of it. So I'm still looking for that hook. What did I do with my hook? One moment please. I found it. And I wanted to look for it because I wanted to tell you about crochet hooks and stuff, but I've just remembered that actually all of that middle was 4 balls of the Aldi double knit acrylic that I found at the supermarket, the same stuff as the grey I bought months ago, and I won't, but even though like every time I go into Aldi, which is a very cheap supermarket, but there's nothing wrong with any of the food, but every time I go in, at the moment there's a lot of yarn. It used to come in only every couple of months, in those middle aisles where you get all the stuff that tempts you. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm always tempted still, even though now I know what the quality is like, which is, although it's not bad, it's just not as good as Stylecraft. But I don't know if that's, am I brainwashed by Stylecraft special? Is it just because that's what I'm used to as my main yarn? Or, well no, heck, I like it better. I just do. This one is different. It is just not as sleek. It's got more poof and a bit more halo to it as an acrylic yarn, which arguably is more realistically wool-like. So for somebody else it might be preferable, but because I just like the way this is the edging is Stylecraft, and I like it. it's smooth to work with and it keeps its colour really well and it's really durable. It's personal preference, isn't it, I suppose. But anyway, I still get tempted to buy more of this stuff, even though now I know that I'm not keen on it as it looks. Not that I want to put anybody else off. I don't want to put anybody else off because actually, it's not that I don't like it, it's just different. It's not that it's not good, it's just different. So anyway, yeah, I think I finished with that. But I wanted to talk about the hook, because there is a section, these are my hooks, there is a section in the middle of this where I went, oh, I can't find this one. I started with this one. It's a 3.75mm hook and it's Knit Pro hook. It's the only Knit Pro hook I've got and I don't actually like it because of the way it sits in my hand. It digs in here and because it's shorter than this one. And these ones, these cheap ones, they stick out and they don't rub on my hand. Anyway, can't remember what I was saying. So I started with this one, couldn't find it, didn't think it would matter to change to this 3.75 instead. Turns out it does matter. It changes my tension completely. I'm far more used to using this, far more comfortable, and the tension changed. My tension with this is far looser. The tension with this one, because it sits differently in my hand and because of this ridge, it prevents the flow of the yarn as I work. It changed it. And so when I use this for about this many rows, this much of the blanket is bigger and it poofed out and it bulged. And then I didn't notice, and so I went back to this one when I found it, carried on, didn't even look at the work, but I carried on for this much before holding it out to see how far I'd gone, and that's when I noticed the bulge, and by then it was too late and there was no way I was frogging all that work. But I'm not going to even bother to show you because actually now that the border is on you can't see it, so phew. But it was just an aside just to say how different, just because it's a 3.75 and a 3.75, which by the way is my favourite hook size for double knit yarn, the variation between the quality of work it puts out is huge. The difference in the work it puts out, it's really considerable. And I'm glad I didn't buy a full set for a start, and I've just had one, and I bought one on holiday last year before when I went to Wales because I thought I'd lost my favourite 3.75 hook, which isn't this one. This is a freebie from a magazine. I've got 3 3.75s because it's my go-to hook, so I need more than one. I don't know where the other one is at the moment. I think it's with another project. But that, and it's pink and it's my favourite. Or is it in here? I think it's this one. It's this one. It's not with another project. I think it's this one because it's written. It says it's a 4mm hook, but it's not, because I've got one of these doodahs and it fits in the 3.75 one, not the 4 one, and it doesn't quite fit in the 3.5. Wiggly waggly on the 4, 3.75, still a bit loose. It must be like a 3.69 or something. But it says it's a 4, it's not. And actually, I don't know if you can see, but it's got an ever such a slight bend on it. It's barely noticeable, but I know it's there because I sat on it. And it went doing, and so I had to manipulate it back into position. But it's my favourite hook, so I must never lose it. Yeah, so I don't know if that was useful or what, but I just thought I'd tell you about my hooks briefly. So that's whip number 1, that blanket, with a 3.75, but not the right of 3.75. And with this 3.75, I'm working on, holy smokes, Holy Smokes 2 version 2. Yeah, that's right. I had about this much last time done, didn't I? Of version 2 of Holy Smokes 2. And then I took it on holiday with me and frogged it all. And so I've put it all back on, made it all into a new shawl that actually works mathematically and visually. Thank goodness. And I've frogged, you can see how much I've frogged because that's how much I've got left on from the frogging. And that's how much I've worked back on again. So I'm nearly at the point where I realised I'd gone wrong. But this time round, everything's working out really well and I'm really pleased. And this is the shape of shawl I like. It is a shallow triangle, shallow V rather than a deep V. And Holy Smokes one is a deep V. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a really nice traditional shape. But if you want to wear it around the front, and this is how I wear most of my shawls, a deep V is trickier to pull off, I think. And I like, a deep V is better for over the shoulders, like a granny. But this is the one I want. This is how I want it to be. And I didn't really think much of it when I did the original version. Until after I'd finished it. And then I was just like, actually it would be nice to try it in the shallow V as well. So a lot easier than, I made life really difficult for myself last time. When I went wrong, I was being too well, it is a common problem with me, is that I over egg the pudding, I suppose. I do things that aren't necessary, and I did it with my market bag that time. Putting in fancy stuff where no fancy stuff is required at all. Keep things simple. When will I learn? So, halfway through, I guess. I'm halfway through and I'm using the Shapeless whirl, and I really like it. It's looking a bit messy, a bit tatty now. But I can't wait to see how those gradient colours come out. This shawl, I won't release it anytime soon because I've got other priorities. But it was a holiday. It was my holiday make. It took 2 nights to frog, did I say? 2 nights to frog it. So I was being extra careful because this yarn likes to get itself in knots. And there's one there now. So I did it very, very slowly. So a couple of nights when I was on holiday, a Menorcan gin and tonic. It should have been a Menorcan gin with lemonade. It's called a pomada. But I wasn't keen on it. I like it with Schweppes. I'm just a traditional, it's not traditional gin, but the Schweppes is my fave. Anyway, whatever. So gin and tonic on the go and some frogging. And then I started again once I'd drawn out my little chart to make sure everything was bang on and correct. So I will do that, and I'm thinking, well, what do you think? Should I release it as an independent design, or should it be a 2-for-1 with the original version? For anybody who's bought Holy Smokes 1, I will send them that anyway, because they never got a choice about which one they bought. So if you've bought it via Ravelry, I will remember to send out the new version to all those that have bought it, so that you've got an option. But for the future purchasers, should it be like a 2-for-1 or 2-in-1 pattern where you can make option 1 or option 2, or should it be 2 independent designs? I have an idea about which one I should do, but it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. Right, so those are the 2 things I'm working on at the moment, and I'm going to start working on a commission next week, which I won't be able to show you, but I'm dead excited about. And then also, before I do that, I'm not going to do any sort of self-indulgent projects for a while. I'm sorting my act together, sorting myself out, getting my act together. And I'm going to knuckle down and do some real work. Not playful crochet, but work crochet. I need to, and I've started the chart for the Emergence of Spring because I want to release that as an independent pattern. I can do that now. It's been over 3 months. So I'm allowed, contractually. So I started doing the chart yesterday, and actually it's not taking as long as I thought it would, as is everything I put off for ages. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So that I can finish today, hopefully, and then after that, priority number 1 is this number. Priority number 1 is this bad boy. And I don't think that'll be as bad as I think it is either. And it still hasn't got a name, but I'm going down the blondie route rather than the way route, and you'll know what I mean from episode 31 by that. I'm thinking blondie because actually I'm thinking trilogy. I'm thinking a trilogy of shawls. I shouldn't ever say these things, because what happens if I don't do a trilogy? What happens if the third one doesn't work out? I really hope it does though, because in my head, design number 3, this is design number 2. And I'm not going to talk about it really, because I did last time. That's design number 2. This is design number 1. And then there's going to be a third one, hopefully, in the next 6 months. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have at least started the third one. But I figured I should give myself a long period of time to do it, because I've also got a lot of other stuff to do. Anyway, that I'm going to write up next week. I would have done it last week, but I was on holiday, so I couldn't. And that's priority for sure this time. I've now got testers who have who I need to email actually. I've emailed everybody. I've emailed the ones that I need to have emailed, and basically it was the first 5 people that got back to me. Some of whom have tested for me again, so I know that they're really good at testing. But I need to get back to them again with all the details. But the reason I'm saying this is because basically having testers means that I've now got a goal. I've now got something to work towards, because I've got people waiting for me. And my problem is that I don't work well without a deadline, and I can't give myself a deadline. That's rubbish, because I always make up excuses to change it. But if I've got people waiting for me, then I've got an obligation, and I need to meet that obligation and sort myself out. So fingers crossed. We're on the right track. Yes. But what I thought I'd do next is feedback on all those questions that I asked you. Well, 2 questions. Just so you knew what the outcome was, because I asked for feedback on what you liked about patterns. Sorry, I keep going too close to the screen, I don't know why. And patterns, it turns out that numero uno for your preference in a pattern is stitch count. And I kind of knew that, and I have been adding stitch counts to my patterns. I think they've all got stitch counts now, whereas I started doing that because I had patterns tested in the past, and feedback was always, could you add a stitch count to this pattern, please? And so therefore I kind of, you know, realised that it was important. But that is your number one favourite thing about any pattern that you buy, and it's that it has to have a stitch count, which makes complete sense. And then also having the pattern well written. And mine are getting better all the time. When I first started releasing patterns, they were basically done the way I'd seen other patterns done online, and so free ones on people's blogs and stuff, and they're not always to a certain standard. And since I've been doing magazine work, you get sent a format and guidance about how a pattern should be laid out, and since I've started following those, my patterns I think are much better and much clearer, which makes sense. And then pictures, and not just artsy-fartsy pictures, but pictures of actual bits of crochet where you want to see how the stitches are put together and stuff like that. So not necessarily like step-by-step photo tutorials of stitches, but just so people can see how it's put together, which I get, and I like that too. Although I have to say that in Holy Smokes I do have a picture tutorial of, and in the C2C patterns that I do, there are always picture tutorials of initial stages and stuff, I think, yeah, or tricky stitches. And then people were 50-50 on charts. So some people swear by them. Some people just use charts. I like to use charts in conjunction with the written pattern, so I know exactly where I'm going. It makes much more sense to my brain when I'm following somebody else's pattern to have a chart alongside the written. And I think from feedback, because that, I think 50, I mean, I don't actually know, I didn't do a tally, but 50-50, it's people that don't read charts, people that do read charts, and those that do rely on them. So I'm definitely going to endeavour to put charts in my designs. And I've definitely put them in some patterns, but not all. Like the C2C, there's no crochet diagram chart, because I've done the pictures instead. And also, you can find the standard C2C diagram chart online everywhere, like it's on Pinterest loads and stuff. I've got a C2C board on my Pinterest board that has those charts and stuff, so I figured that they're easy to find. I don't need to make it up if it already exists. I wasn't going to talk about that, so now I'm confused. Where am I? So, chart, well written pattern, good pics, good technical pictures, and stitch count. Stitch count being the most important. So that's good. I'm glad. Thank you very much for giving me all that feedback. There was loads of really good information there. Thank you. And the other thing was, I asked you what you preferred, Ravelry or Etsy, and pretty much it's like 99.9% say Ravelry, and the deciding factors, there are two, it's library and project page. And I found this really interesting because the project page thing hadn't really occurred to me. Library, yeah, I like the library, I use that, and that's one of the reasons why I like Ravelry as well. And there's the community aspect as well, which is good, and you don't get that on Etsy. You don't get much in those ways. There's no library or anything like that, and you don't really get to see anybody else's versions of the patterns that you've bought. But I suppose it's just an easy access platform in which to buy your patterns. Anyway, so the library I mean, you purchase your pattern and then it goes into a library. You've always got it there. You always know where it is, and that's brilliant. You can access it anywhere if you've got the internet. And then the project page thing. That's the thing that I didn't realise was it was actually quite important to a lot of people, because some people don't buy a pattern unless they've seen other people's versions of it and how they've made it, and the information that they've written about how they've made it and their experience of making it. And that's brilliant. And with that in mind, if you've ever made one of my projects and you haven't put it on Ravelry, do you think you could? Because it would help. It would be really helpful. That'd be amazing. Thank you. And I will endeavour to do the same as well. And I do sometimes, but not every time I make something by somebody else's pattern. But it's hugely important. Not only to the designer, but to anybody else that's interested in that pattern. So yeah, take a few snaps, bung them up on Ravelry. Bob's your uncle. Speaking of Ravelry, I've put up a new pattern on Ravelry. I did Off the Chart, which was a blanket that was in Crochet Now magazine a few months back, around Christmas time I think. It's too big to show you really. I don't know if I'll get it all in. I'll pop up a picture. But it's a C2C blanket, and it has been claimed by my youngest son, who claims every blanket I make. But I put it on his bed and it fits. It's a single bed size blanket, but not one that drapes over the sides or down the bottom. It fits on the top with, but it doesn't go over the pillow either. So basically it's like the duvet. It's a single bed size minus a pillow length, I suppose, pillow width, I suppose. And the pattern is on Ravelry. It's called Off the Chart. The pattern has all the usual gubbins, and I include a few pages of how to do a C2C, so basic C2C guidance, pictures on how to do the initial stitches, photographs that is, and how to change colour and how to do the decreases, turning it into a rectangle and coming back in and all of that. So that's on Ravelry at the moment. It is the first time I've used Shapier's Colour Crafter, which is I think they're like budget acrylic, the same as Starcraft have, special DK. This is the Shapier's acrylic double knit Colour Crafter. Never used it before. I didn't like working with it, but I like how it feels once it's made up. And I think I didn't like working with it because it feels too lightweight, almost like there's nothing there. It's very, very light in comparison to other acrylics I've worked with. Yeah, at the time I didn't like that, but now it's nice and snuggly. It's covered in cat hair as well. The cat's been sleeping on it. What was I going to say about this? I mean, I think it looked great in all sorts of colours. It's really hard. I chose these colours by looking online. I didn't get to see any of them in real life. It'd be nice to have a shade card, but there's loads of different colours. Like I was going, oh, I want pink, but which pink? And it's really hard to see because some of them look really similar. So I did a potluck thing, and this actually is very neon pink, and none of the other colours are neon. But blows out a bit. And the green is quite a deep green. I don't know. I actually think they work well together. They look nice. But I think it would look great in all kind of different colour combinations. And somebody made one on Instagram, put one on Instagram. And they used some, I remember a deep blue and a burgundy. And a darker green, I think. And they were really nice shades. If I try and look for it, I bet you I don't find it. But it worked really well in those colour choices as well. it's versatile is what I'm saying. So there's that. And talking of Crochet Now magazine, I'm in this month's issue as well. Is that where I am? I'm trying to follow notes today because otherwise I'll be all over the place. I've got too much stuff in my head. So yeah, I mean this is issue 29 and not one but 2 designs of mine. I've never had 2 in the same issue before. And crikey, I think I made both in 14 days. I didn't do much else that fortnight. Never again, I'm not doing that again. And I should have said, can I have a couple more days or something like that, because actually that was not fun. And yeah, although this blanket, although I had a tight deadline, I didn't have as tight a deadline as that off the chart, which I went wrong on. Do you remember? I was like 5 days into it and I was taking my time, and so I was only halfway through, and I got to the pink and I ran out of yarn. So I did. Oh, one moment, please. This is where I got further than this, right? This is not the blanket. This is a reject. So luckily I had enough yarn that I'd been sent. So I got this far, plus all of the pink, right? So that's another section, like that much of a section going up. So it's even wider than this. Another foot longer, right? Bearing in mind that's half a square. And I had to frog back all of the pink because I didn't have enough to do the whole section. Oh, I can't remember what I was talking about now. Yeah, so that's right. I had 5 days work, had to bin it all and start again. So I only had 5 days to make this, and I did it. But I don't know what's wrong with me, why I can't just contact the person and go, I've messed up. I don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit that I've gone wrong. And so I'm going to do this. I can do it, so I do it. And then lose sleep and fret and all sorts. But then feel like really good when I've done it. Anyway, so bearing in mind that took 5 days, I did the other one in 8 days. So, I mean, no problem at all, even though it was still actually quite a lot of work. Too much work for 8 days, I think. That's that one, which is called Havana Nights, and I think it might be one of my favourite blankets I've ever made. It's a C2C blanket, but the colours just work really well together. I'm really not surprised. Of course they work well. I chose them. I knew they would work. You never know. Well, I don't. Some people might be a bit more sure. But the colours I love, and I love the asymmetry of, if I'm allowed to brag about my own pattern, I just love the asymmetry of the chevron. I really can't wait to get my hands on that one again, because they keep it for a few months and then you get it back once the magazine's been out for a while, and then I think they wait a few months before they return it to you. And I was like, I don't care about anything else, but please can I have that one back because I love it. So that one is using another acrylic double knit, and it is King Cole price wise. You can't really tell. The colours in the magazine have sort of made it quite subdued, but it's brighter in real life. The theme for this magazine is tropical. And I was having a lot. I like to name the things I make, but I also like them to be fun, either fun or have meaning or something, you know, something fun. And I was really struggling with these for ages, and it was right at the last minute before I sent off the pattern, I went, Havana Nights. And I don't know if I'd watched Dirty Dancing on TV or what, but because that's Dirty Dancing 2, Havana Nights. You must watch it. It's got Diego Luna in it, who's quite tasty. Not that the film is very good, but I still quite like it. So there's that one, which I really, really like. And then I'm trying to find the other one. This isn't mine, but I think that's a fab design. A Monstera leaf. That I also submitted a Monstera leaf C2C design, but it didn't get accepted because this one is so much better than my one. My one was rubbish. Maybe I might improve it and then just put it out as a chart. Not even bother making it, but if I put it up as a chart, somebody else can make it, and if they want to, for free. You know, I'm not going to charge you for something I haven't tested. Just an idea. Where are you? Ah, and here's the other one. And this is Club Tropicana. Right. Oh, before I... No, I'll mention it another time. Sorry. Excuse me. Club Tropicana. It is an asymmetrical shawl, and it is an evolved version of a long story, was I going to call it? Do you remember ages ago, like November? No, it was, I bought some yarn in November at the Totnes Yarn Festival, Stitch Fest Southwest, and I was going to make a yarn, an asymmetrical shawl and call it a long story, and I got about that far in, the little triangles worth in, before I decided that I didn't like the yellow I was using as the main colour. And basically I binned it. I haven't literally put it in the bin, but it's just shoved in a corner and neglected and forgotten, abandoned. But I liked the concept of this asymmetrical shawl and how the stitches went together. And so it became Club Tropicana. And actually, as a shawl like that, I really like it. I like the lines. And basically I would wear it so that this bit was at the front. And you might have to pin it to keep it in place, or not. Slightly different styling. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's just that you can't see that V. I would wrap it around a bit more. But, and it's partly my fault, I don't like the colours of the yarn. I just don't. The yarn was horrible. I seem to be working with a load of shapius at the moment. Do you like the way I'm saying it? Shapius. I don't know if it's right still. It's not. I seem to be working a lot of it at the minute. This is soft fun double knit, and there's nothing fun about it. I don't like it. It's horrible. It feels plasticky. And it's not. It's cotton. Is it 100% cotton? No. It's 40% acrylic. I don't have any on me. But there's something about it. I don't like the texture. And yeah. Sorry. I would use something completely different for this shawl. I would use a wool with a halo on it. I think that would look really nice. And I think I like the way I've done the stripes, but I think it would work really well with thinner stripes, with different widths of stripes, using the, is it Fibonacci? Fibonacci, is that right? Just gonna Google it, hang on. That's the mathematical sequence that looks nice. Do you know what I mean? Fibbo. Come on, my phone, oh, Fibbo. I think my phone's gonna die, I'm really worried. It keeps crashing and stuff. Fibonacci is an Italian mathematician. So I'm assuming that he's the one that's come up with the nice ratio of stripies. Not just stripes. Oh. Excuse me. Apparently he was the most talented Western mathematician of the Middle Ages. Oh, I don't know. Yes, it's a sequence of numbers that look nice. That's not what it says, but anyway, sorry. And I did initially suggest a different yarn, but was told that it wasn't summery enough. And hey, that's perfectly fair, because it's true. It's for a summer tropical issue, and there I am suggesting a really woolly wool. It wouldn't have made sense at all, but just I don't know what yarn I would have chosen instead. A different cotton maybe, and maybe 100% cotton would look nice. I like cotton, but it's just this. I wish I had some on me. I don't know where it is, but I would just remember, because I made this a couple of months ago, and I've forgotten. But I just remember it feeling not rubbery, but weird. I don't know how to describe it. I didn't like it. And the colours I chose, I originally went for grey, and they were like, "This is a summer issue, you can't have grey." I was like, "Oh yeah, bum." And actually the editor suggested 3 colours, and I was like, because they were so far from the ones that I had initially chosen, I said no, and I chose these 3 colours instead. But actually her colour choices were far better, and I kind of tried to backtrack and went, "Oh no, can we have yours instead?" And she said, "No, I like your colours, we'll go for those." And so I don't know, I can't remember what colours I chose now, but I think a royal blue was there, and a pink, and maybe a minty green or something, or red, pink and blue. I can't remember, but it looks good in here. It really does, and I shouldn't be so moany. I should get over it. But I'm just sort of full disclosure and stuff, you know, just sort of, you know, not everything always works out the way you want it to. But I would totally make this again, but in maybe for winter, do a woolly wool and different colours. I hope I'm allowed to say that. And brilliantly, they've included a chart, which I didn't do, but because I don't think you need to for magazine submissions, because they've got tech editors and stuff. But that's useful. It makes it clearer. Not that it's hard. It's not a difficult pattern. It's not. It's lovely and easy, lovely and simple. But anyway, that is what a long story became. And yeah, that was quite a long story. There are loads of crochet alongs going on at the minute, and make alongs and knit alongs and things. And I'm not sure that I can take part in them, because I'm supposed to be knuckling down and doing real work and stuff. But if I could take part in them, I would take part in the Summer Top Cowl by Faye of the Crochet Circle podcast, because I would like to make a summer top. I've got woolly thick jumpers, no nice summery crochet tops. So that is a cowl I would be taking part in if I had the time, and I might try and squeeze some time in if I've already got yarn in stash and I find a speedy pattern. I'm not allowed to buy any yarn specifically for it. But if I was taking part in cows, that's one I would take part in. I would also take part in the Bad Boys cowl, or Bad Girls cowl, for Claudia and Clarissa's Summer Romance cowl, because that was really good fun last year. But one of the reasons I'm not taking part in that one, well, I might find excuses to take part in any of these at some point if I don't miss the boat. But right now I'm saying I'm not allowed. But if I was taking part in this one, I don't know which bad boy I'd choose. I can't think. Can you please tell me some bad boys in popular culture? Maybe I could choose one of those. I can't think because, yeah, every now and again, the bad boy is good. But I know Claudia's chosen Negan, and I quite like Negan. I know loads of people hated him and thought he was far too over the top. And by the way, I've not watched beyond episode 2 of the latest season of The Walking Dead because we just thought it was rubbish. It was so bad. Like after the last one, was it season 8 we're on? After the last season, pretty much from the introduction of Negan, it just went downhill. And we just went, psh, it's a waste of time. But then we decided to watch it recently, once it had all aired. And then we were going to watch it in one large chunk. But Sky have stopped they've stopped showing the first half of the season. So we would miss like 6 episodes or something and have to skip them. Maybe we could get away with that, but I don't like missing. If I'm going to watch something, I want to watch it all. But anyway, not my bad guy. And I don't know about any, but I've forgotten anybody else's bad guys. Oh, mostly from TV shows that I don't watch. I don't watch Supernatural, and I know people have chosen a bad boy from that. So, yeah, we got a bad boy. I could go bad girl route, couldn't I? Instantly popped into my mind was Buffy, not Buffy, what's she called? Faye? Is she called Faye? I'm confused now. Eliza Dushku in Buffy. She's a bad girl. She was naughty. Don't know why she's popped into my head. I think the supernatural element just went... Anyway, so I would take part in that. I would also take part, and I could take part in the KCACY Cal, because I don't think there's any specific requirements other than just crochet, how much you've crocheted, isn't it? I'm not sure, I haven't looked at the rules. And I'd probably take part in the Cherry Heart make-along as well, but I can't. Because I've got the Victoria shawl pattern and I've got the Diamonds and Tassels shawl pattern. And I've made them both before, and they were both lovely. And I think there's a few freebies as well. And I think there's a few others that I've neglected to mention. But I can't really take part in any of them. Unless I find a really good excuse. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that. And I thought I'd mention, because it's new and because a few other people have mentioned it as well, so I don't know what I'm doing now. It's lunchtime and I'm hungry and I'm running on empty now. I thought I'd mention Crochet Zine magazine on Instagram, a new magazine which I think is a fab idea. But if you're on Instagram and if somebody else has mentioned it and you've gone, oh, I don't know, and now I'm mentioning it, maybe you should change your mind if you're just like, oh, I don't know, go and look at it. I think it's a brilliant idea and I hope it takes off, and it is taking off already. I noticed the climb in followers going up and up and up and up. And they've got interviews and patterns and loads of information about yarn and crochet and designers and stuff. And it's fab. And it's 12 Instagram pages per month. And you know what it's like, each page you can swipe. So that's an abundance of information in just 12 little squares. Go check it out, Crochet Zine. And then... nearly the end, but not quite because I've got a couple more things to mention. Yesterday was super busy. In the morning I did the first Ottery wool gathering. Sorry, I'm really close to them. I did the Ottery wool gathering yesterday, which is basically a craft group for people that live in town or anybody else who wants to come, who is in a driving distance and wants to come and crochet or knit or sew or embroider or cross stitch or draw, whatever. There's not really much like it in town already. I think there is one knit and natter group, but it's 5 PM to 7 PM, which is no good for me and no good for many people really. But mind you, you can't please everybody. You can't choose one time that will work for everybody, you just can't. So, when did I mention it? what are we, June? Nearly a year ago, I went to one in, I can't remember what they call it, just a craft group in Skipton, up north. But that's not a commutable distance for me. And so I was like, ding, I'm going to start one of my own. So I did. And yesterday was the first one. It's taken me a long time to pull my finger out. Because I've been saying for ages. But there's things like, it took me weeks to sort of actually get around to contacting venues and stuff. I forgot or just didn't get around to it, whatever. But eventually I emailed cafes and things and didn't hear anything. And so I popped into the local library and went, do you know of anywhere, or have you got a space? And they were like, oh yes we have, and oh, that was a wonderful idea, lovely. And so it was at the library. I designed a poster that my husband, who knows about graphic design, I trained in it at uni, he rejigged my poster to make it look proper, and oh, Cole, I do not like cold tea, but my mouth was dry. It's monthly, and I've talked about it before, and we had, I think about, I reckon in total 14 people, but like it was a drop-in thing, so maybe somebody would stay for an hour and then say, right, oh, I've got to go to the parking, blah blah blah, and then somebody would turn up halfway through. But I think at one point there were 10 of us sat around the table, for sure, but a couple of people had started off and gone, and then a couple of people had arrived and whatever, you know how it works. And I thought that was a really good turnout, because I could have had nobody turn up, basically. So to have that many people was brilliant, and everybody was really enthusiastic and really liked the idea. And we'll see what goes from here. But at the moment, I'm just doing once a month. But if it takes off, then I don't see any reason why it can't be weekly or whatever. And then also it'll probably take off by itself, and I won't need to go to every one or whatever. And it'll just be a group of people who are like-minded that want to hang out and be crafty and make stuff at the same time and chat about stuff. It takes me so long to do anything, but when I do it I go, why didn't I do that sooner? Every time. Anyway, it's a big thumbs up for that. Really pleased. 10:30 till 12:30, first Thursday of every month. Ottery. Yeah, so anyway, that was in the morning, and then I came home, had lunch, and then I did the Emergence of Spring chart, some of it, and then I realised that this weekend is the Contemporary Craft Festival at Bovey Tracy, which is just on the edge of Dartmoor in Devon. And I didn't go last year because I had nobody to go with, and I was too much of a chicken to go by myself. But the year before I'd gone with friends and had a great time and been absolutely bowled over by the things that people have made. It's just astounding. And did I talk about it last year? Can't remember. But basically everything is, it's proper. It's proper. Super high end. And just, it's intimidating, it's awe-inspiring, and it's just amazing. Beautiful stuff. Anyway, I don't know why I've teared up over that, got overexcited. I do that. I'm not upset. Maybe I'm emotionally moved. It's unusual because I'm normally made of stone. But anyway, I saw one of my friends was going on Facebook. On Facebook she was going to it, you know, blah blah is going to such and such an event, and I was like, when are you going? It's like, can I come? But it turned out she was going to the private preview thing, which was last night. And she went, oh, I'll see if I can get you a ticket. And I was like, yes, please. And we have a mutual friend who actually had a stand. And I will put a link for Little Borrowed Zines, because I'm friends with her as well, but my other friend is very good friends with her. And she's not the sort of friend that I could go, can I have a ticket? I would feel really uncomfortable doing that, but I don't feel uncomfortable saying to my other mate, go and ask her, yeah? So awful. Anyway, thank you so much to Claire from Little Borrowed Designs, who very kindly gave me a ticket so I could go, and go with people rather than be Billy No Mates, which was fine. I mean, I got lost. I was separated from them anyway because I was like, oh, what's over here, and then ran away. And so for half of it I was on my own anyway, chatting to people. I'd had a couple of gin and tonics, so I was a bit lubricated, and God knows what those people must have thought, because I think some of them were laughing at me because I was like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, your work is stunning, it's amazing. Oh, are you on Instagram? Anyway, so if you are in Devon, and I know some of you are, go to the Contemporary Craft Festival at Bobby Tracy this weekend, because it's amazing. And if I could afford it, I would buy from every other stall, stand, whatever they're called. Not the jewellery though, I'm not a jewellery person. I don't wear jewellery apart from this because a man bought me. I'm joking. I would buy everything. It's gorgeous stuff. I mean, and it's all so different as well. And I don't just like one style of things. I like a white spread. There was beautiful furniture. That was like, that would look beautiful in my house. There was pottery. There was textiles and weaving and prints, metalwork, woodwork. There was glassware. There was pottery, stunning, sculptures of all sorts, paperwork. I'll put a link to the Contemporary Craft Festival. That's the best thing to do, because then you'll see snippets of a wide spread of stuff. But if you're in Devon, just spend a tenner on the ticket and go, because you'll be awestruck, absolutely awestruck. I want most of that, but I think it's artisan produce, and it needs to go on my Christmas list. I can't afford it myself. I've got a list. I wrote a list when I came back, but when I was there, and there was no yarn. I saw one stand selling some Dartmoor yarn, but I didn't buy any because I bought fabric instead. I bought fabric from these guys, which is the shop in Exeter on 4th Street, which I go to every now and again to pop in. They do crafty bits, beads and stuff, like beads and jewellery things and haberdashery, all that kind of stuff. But I bought fabric. I bought 3 fat quarters for a tenner. That one, and that one, which is my numero uno favourite. Did I say numero uno earlier as well? What's wrong with me? Number 1 favourite, because it's got neon pink on it. But all great for lining crochet things. Ta-da! And so I chose fabric over yarn, which doesn't happen very often. I've kind of gone off buying fabric. But this stuff was just too good to leave behind. It's beautiful. It's the sort of thing you get out and just stare at it for a bit, then fold it up nicely, put it away again, get it out again. This blows out tremendously in real life. It's lovely, but it is quite bright. So I got those instead of yarn, which I've just repeated myself, said that already. And then, because this was so cute, I've got a little felt fairy. And he was £3. And like the only thing I could actually afford. But like I said, Christmas list for the other stuff, for sure. Anyway, what a little cutie. I'm not going to use it as a keyring because I always ruin my keyrings by using them too much. So I'm going to hang him over by my workspace at the computer. And I think, let's face it, I have talked enough. So, thank you once again for spending time with me. Please do think about subscribing and giving me a thumbs up, because I like that, that makes me happy, puts a smile on my face. And yeah, I'll see you again next time. Thank you very much for joining me. Cheerio, bye bye.